You know you're muted, right? Okay.
There.
Hey!
It took a little while.
That's
Hi,
darn
hi,
good thing when
TJ.
that happens.
Hello.
TJ, I don't know if you talked to Christina in the last day, but I finally got to meet her yesterday at that conference.
I did. That's what she said. Yeah, she
Yeah.
said you were turned around and saw you standing there.
Yeah, and she looked at my name tag, but I was waiting to talk to her, and she's like, Doris, I finally meet you. So anyway, that was nice. Nice to finally have met your whole team.
Well, good. No, it only took, what, 2 years?
Yeah.
Are we waiting for anybody else to come on?
I don't know.
No, this is it.
Okay.
TJ, do you guys have Zoom video?
I just got a new iPad, and I'm trying to figure out how in the heck to turn on the video. I've gotten the audio to work.
Okay.
Can you see us though?
I can see you guys.
Okay, I'm just wondering, Chuck, did you want to display document?
Well, no, I just
No.
wanted really for later on. I thought this would be a good platform for us to make sure we're communicating. Is
Yeah.
that we could share, stuff together as we
Right.
move forward. There
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 we
he
go.
is.
I'd call him back up.
And some future meeting, like you did, Chuck, with the committee, we might want to be able to, record and put out there for the rest of our community to link to, and, after the meeting was over to hear something or see something.
Right. No problem. I guess, Darcy, if you'd like me to start a little bit here.
Yeah,
So
Chuck.
Unfortunately, I've gotten swamped with work at the company. And right now I've got 700 million under backlog, and I can't keep up with it. And I can't keep up with the towers. So as Doris and Ryan can confess, they haven't seen much of me lately. Quite a while. I used to go there on the weekends.
I forgot what he looked like.
Yeah.
The one with the Chevrolet. Not Ford. No, Chevrolet.
That little Chevrolet.
Chevrolet. Yeah. So Doris had mentioned that maybe you guys could take over getting the bid documents ready to go out, for where we're at now. And I guess by you being on, y'all can do that. Is that correct?
We can. I saw what you sent over this morning. I have not had a chance to really go through it. So I'd like to kind of just get an overview of what exactly you've done and what you've kind of put together to be able to move forward, and to see how I can kind of piggyback on to what you've done so far.
So I think for what Doris and I've discussed mainly is that you had a great bid documents when you first went out, is maybe condense that down to a pro forma type bid document. This is what we're doing. As you can see from the scope, we've drastically reduced a lot of it because some of it's been done, the doors and things like that, and the hardware and various things. That's already taken care of. So that's the reason they're not on that list anymore. What I was doing in the background, except for the concrete portion, I was getting bids to confirm that my numbers were good. And I've been doing that continuously. And I would like to try to at least let these subcontractors be specified in their product that they could bid the job. They spend a lot of time and effort. They've been out to the towers, they've walked it, they've done a lot of different things. So at least I like to zero in on some of these guys. And I thank Doris and everybody as the building committee. We've blessed these products or approved them and kind of looked at them far as in general what they're proposing. I'm going to use like coating, the coatings that are in the front. We're going to put on the walkways. That particular product and material, not the colors, not anything else, but the coating has been pretty much agreed on. What you will see in these documents, we want alternates. The building committee is saying, or the documents are saying, we're going to do the front breezeways. all the way, both towers, top to bottom. You'll also, I'm gonna send you these proposals and they're pretty good listing out all the areas. So there's a lot of different areas that base bid is gonna include, the new coatings. Then there's gonna be an alternate if we should need to get into the balconies. That's a big topic, which we'll keep you out of right now. But, the ownership and a lot of people didn't want to do the balconies. But we'll have that as an alternate. I want to get into the bid documents. So what I would like to work with you is not as much, because you've been through a lot of this. I'm looking at my second monitor over here, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
We've gone through a lot of the stuff in your main, I kind of much followed what you were doing, in your bid documents originally, except where they kind of got modified. And the reason they got modified a little bit is because, number one, some dollars, some things that maybe we could do later. And I'll use another example, the grassy knoll. The grassy knoll has been such a big topic that we're going to cut that into sections. Getting a contract with a contractor, we're going to have a base bid, and it's going to do something. But if that contractor finds X, Y, Z, then it goes into a couple of different options. You follow me?
Mhm.
It's the same thing as the balcony towel. If we should find reinforcing steel or anything like that that's in bad shape, all bets are off. The towel comes off, and then we're going to do something else. So there's several areas that are like that will have the same thing with windows, but let me see what I was on. The planters, the same thing. The planters base bid is going to be X amount of them, completely restoring them. And then there's options every time we dig the dirt out, because we're going to take the dirt out of all the planters. But
Okay.
then there's options. If we find that the waterproofing membrane is not good, it's XYZ cost per planter. If we find that the drains are plugged up, it's X cost per drain. And then we'll adjust those. We did in the base bid, we've allowed Dar's 10.
Yes,
I think there's 10. Well, we're in base bid is repairing 10 of these drains someplace and repairing the waterproofing somewhere.
on those either or repairs, you actually estimated half of them, Chuck. But you estimated about 10 that may need a complete both, membrane and drain.
Right, that's base bid. And then those others will be. What I was wanting to do is not have a lot of loose numbers per linear foot, per piece, per this, but kind of like the way we put our doors in. When we put the doors out for bid, it was include cut them out, put the frames back in, paint them, repair the stucco, repair whatever. We wanted a brand new done.
No finished product.
Right, not per linear foot if you should find the stucco cracked and chipped, and they did. They knocked some big chips out of some of the walls and stuff trying to get those frames out. Didn't matter. It wasn't a cost, an additional cost. It was lump sum. That was up to them. And the same thing, I want to try to keep these documents and everything we're bidding as one complete piece. So we're on the same page so far. You had a lot of beginning. You had a lot of components. Cost per this, cost per linear feet of window, cost per caulking. We want to lump sum that. So in the concrete, instead of having that, if you should tear up the stucco, it's cost per square foot of stucco. No, if you decided that here is a post tension cable, rust is coming out, they're to dig it out, replace it, put the stucco back, ready to be painted. Period.
Correct. And that's how my concrete numbers are. The stucco line item was for anything that was stucco somewhere else on the building. The concrete unit costs were comprehensive of, yep, here's your finished product. It's ready to be painted when it's done. And that's what that cost is.
Okay. Hang on one second. Back on a Zoom meeting. Okay, thank you. Bye. So, yeah, I kind of took it because when we were talking with Florida Hager, they were saying they were doing it by component. Now, my memory's been a year old, which is not good at my age. But I was understanding that they did not have various complete systems. They only, they would fall back onto the alternate ads if they should find any this and that and the other. And that was not all for everything, but that was for some of it.
Okay.
So again, let's just keep the documents where whatever we're in. If it's the railing, we're removing the railing. I don't care what you got to do to get that railing put installed, but don't come back with a change order saying the bolts are bad. We know the bolts are bad. You need to figure in replacing the bolts, doing the pad. I would like to get with you on, because again, got with the subcontractors on thinking about how we can reinstall that railing. And that's part of some additional meetings. And I think you will agree with them. It's not changing stuff, but we had a way that we can replace that rail with the towel on staying there. If, Doris, don't faint, if we have to leave that towel. So there, I have a procedure or a way to do that and leave that towel there. There's a couple new line items, and I'm going really fast, but I just want to kind of give you overall. We're going to take that stucco off the front of those balconies. So that's one of the investigations. If we take that stucco off, and we're not going to put it back on, we're going to cut it off. We're going to redo the concrete edge with a skim coat of concrete, and then we're going to paint it. But if we pull that stucco and grind that off, and we start seeing rust and PT cables and stuff being exposed, that's going to default back into removing the towel on the top. You follow me there?
Mhm.
There's a couple little stepping stones that we got to do just to kind of appease some of the ownership. And the way we can walk into that is doing different steps.
Okay.
So it's not the best thing. Yeah, it would be great to say, we're going to do this. I don't care what they say. But Doris wants to live there for some reason. Ryan won't like his job. So we'll try to work within those parameters. And that's another
Okay.
They're all, they're very upset. This is a big amount of money. And
It
they
is.
got to come up and write their check, and one way or the other, we all got to come up with it. And so I want to, as we put this bid package together, I just want to keep it contained into a tight lump sum as much as we can. We videoed, we took a video and took pictures of all the windows.
Okay.
I didn't tell
No,
TJ
I
that
wasn't
yet.
aware of that.
Well, again, so we can take a picture, let's just say unit on the 5th floor, 6th floor. And in the original documents, it said if you find seals, it's this, cost per linear foot. If you find this and that and the other, they're all, I want to do is, here's the pictures. If it looks like you got to do the seals, the jams, and around the perimeter, or the windows got to come out, that's what's going to be in base bid. We're going to repair that window. We still going to have the alternates but base bid is going to include repairing what we know instead of that just in case and guess. The
And,
only one that, go ahead.
TJ, we hired a company that did drone pictures from the outside of the building, each of the windows. So, you probably will be able to better calculate, at least on the window sills, what needs to be done.
Well, the seals
Okay.
and the jams and around the perimeter, but it's also a selling point that owner in 77043, whatever on the end, here's your window. Now we got to do something with this. Either it's got to be replaced or we're going to repair it. And hopefully, it's not that bad. I know some of them are, right, Ryan?
Yes.
Some of them are pretty bad. But base bid is going to include the pretty bad and get it, whatever. And if it needs a window, then we need it. Doris, I think what we were also saying that we can't dictate the ownership to replace a patio door or hold on, wait a minute, or a window from one particular contractor, but it must meet a performance spec. So we can have a contractor that's awarded this job. He can buy XYZ window or door and they can use him and they're going to pay him direct, not the HOA, but he's getting paid. And that's another story how that works. And he needs to get his money up front or whatever it might be. Or they can select a contractor. And as we're going through that, and the window needs to be replaced at the time of the repair.
Okay.
Doris?
I was gonna say, the hard part
Okay.
with trying to wait until the time of the repair, recently I've heard like PGT has 28-week lead times. So if
Right.
you get into it, just the ownership needs to be aware that you might have a board over your window for 28 weeks if they're using a PGT window or door.
Well, again, that's what the pictures are going to do is say, you got to do this. And this is how much the window's going to cost. At the end of the day, it's another one of those little stepping stones. They're going to use the contractor that's there to get them to do
Probably.
it. But we should probably give them the option just so they can say, well, you're just dictating us what to do. We'll give you an option. You can make this performance spec, which is going to be what everybody agrees, as the board, this window manufacturer, whoever, PGT or whoever it might be, this is what's got to be used. And if you can use somebody else that install it which they won't be able to, hopefully not, they can't bring somebody else out there to put a window in. Just, in my world, in your world, that ain't happening. So unless that contractor's really trying to rake over somebody with a window, they should be able to do it themselves, and why not? It's another dollar in their pocket. There is another one line item. Doris, as I was going through this, of course, I took the fees out at the bottom for the engineering because that's to be determined when we get these guys involved. We still want to try to get some of this done without going through the GC. Now, I'm going to give you an example, and that's the parapet count. We have a bid on doing the parapet count. Do we want to go ahead and not have a GC involved putting the parapet count? Because it doesn't affect, I don't think anything, doing that.
No, I don't think it does.
So bid documents wise, and this is what I'm talking about here. I'm not looking at my screen again. I had questions about, let me look down here too. It's down in the additional work line item.
Right down at the bottom, additional renovation, scope of work.
Yeah, since we're already doing the automatic doors, doing the storefront ourselves to get the access control in, do we want to take that one automatic door out and just whenever we handle that?
That first line item is the doors from the lobby to the garage, which we were not doing those right away. Isn't that correct?
I don't know. That's why I was asking.
I believe the Altamont Glass, who you had contacted, I think they're only doing the 2 lobby doors in each building and then the 2 pool doors. Correct, Ryan, too? Okay.
Yeah.
But we don't need, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm thinking we would leave that first item in that's numbered 1, automatic open entrance door from garage, but we would take out the next 2 items, which are the storefront doors, and Ryan is on track with the door signage, and then even number 4, take that one out, because the stairwell signs are really in pretty good shape. They look pretty decent. The only 2 that I would leave in underneath there is the item number 1, the automatic doors, and then replacing the garage utility pipe hangers. And that may be a subcontract that we just look on our own too, if it
Yeah,
isn't a GC item.
I don't see why that would be, because Ryan got a bid on it.
Yeah,
It's just going around and replacing rusted hangers that are, in the garage.
Right.
So that's just another, we could pull that. We need, another area that when we were discussing with Florence Hager, they didn't have painting of the stairwells.
right.
And that's what those line items are talking about is now, and that'll be included in your paint scope. You know, whenever you do it, the stairwells will need to be painted. And that, we were just plugging in a number just so we have a cost of that.
Can I ask here, Chuck, I believe we were talking about repairing the walkway railings, you know, that sharp railing that's on top of the wall. And I think maybe you kind of alluded to that a little bit ago about, you know, the fasteners and if there's a plate that goes under there like a spacer thing. Is that someplace in the scope document at this point? Or do we need to add that in?
When I went through and walked every floor, I could not find any railing loose. Now,
Okay,
maybe somebody has a discussion with that, but I could not find anything. And I went around and walked up and down and shook every rail. They're little nubbies. And so they're a lot more fastened, you know, into the concrete block. It's a concrete block wall. I couldn't see anything wrong with them.
Yeah.
Therefore, we were going to sand them and repaint them.
Yeah, that's part of the painting, under the painting I see.
is it?
Right.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
repair and paint walkway railings.
Yeah, that was the
Oh.
other thing. Florence Hager didn't have painting of any rails. And so we were
Because-
including that.
And Flores Hager was under the impression we were replacing all of the rails everywhere,
Correct.
so.
Right.
That 2,400 linear feet under repair and paint walkway railings, that's total linear footage we have? Or is that like only partial?
What part are you at?
I'm on line 53 in the
Under-
scope page.
The scope page, it's under the painting, it's number
Right.
2.
Under painting?
Yes.
Repair and paint walkway rails? Yeah, that's actual linear footage off of, we put it on a digitizer.
Okay.
And that's actual linear feet of all floors, towers 8 and 9.
Okay.
And that would be sanding them and then repainting them.
Would that be replacing any rusty fasteners?
You probably got plenty, that's a lot of money to paint those little nubs. You probably have enough if there is a fastener.
Okay,
But going through and replacing all the fasteners, that's a problem.
okay,
Not an easy thing to do. You either got to go deeper or bigger. Right, TJ?
Correct.
So
Yeah,
then
you're
that
gonna have
means you got different plates, you got a whole new different scope.
It depends on how corroded it is. Are they able to back the screw back out? So I think they were all Tapcons that were in there. If they break off, then you're into chipping it to get the old fastener back out or trying to drill it out in some manner.
Mhm.
So it could become a very, very hard task to do.
Yeah, I saw a Melee Phillips head screws. So they told me, like you said, they're just Tapcons. They were drilled down and screwed in. You know, we can take another one of those things. We can take out a couple here and there just to see what they look like. And would probably need to go deeper into something, but we couldn't put the same screw back. I mean, it had just need to go longer.
Yeah, deeper or wider.
wider would not be good because we already got that round plate. Not
Right.
good. That means got to replace the rail.
On that railing, would we do the electrostatic paint
Yeah.
to make it
That's
last
what we
longer?
talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
That's what we talked about.
okay,
Now, that I will throw a couple things out. That paint, or it doesn't look like it was painted with that before. And I don't know how many coats of paint is on that, which looks like to be it's done several times. To try to get all that off, you can't just put that electrostatic paint on over regular latex or whatever paint. It won't
okay.
work. We gotta get it back down to, original. So that might be cost prohibitive, one of those things, just replace it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I agree.
We need to look at that. I
Okay.
didn't look at that close, but I did notice there's coats of paint on it. And I think it's just regular paint of some sort.
So we would want TJ to put together the bid package of just repainting it with like marine grade or weatherproof type paint and not go the electrostatic at this point. Is
I
that
think
correct,
so.
Chuck?
Yeah, I don't see that being a problem right now, unless TJ's does. I think that it's just not enough of it.
Okay,
No, I agree. I think the cost that you're gonna pay to try to do an electrostatic coating is not worth the money. You might as well
Okay.
replace.
So you might have a few bucks there. I can't, you may, probably half of that is what we'll actually spend. We can then use it for fasteners and other areas. Exterior caulking, in that line item was a bucket, a catch bucket. We're gonna need to caulk something. So we're gonna have to, and that is not what we call beauty caulking. Beauty caulking is just a latex caulk. This is an
Everything.
exterior, yeah. So this would be really trying to caulk something, a thresholds or exterior wall or something, that expansion joint. That's what that is, picked up doing. Even like those balconies, if we did pull up something or keeping what we have, we're gonna need to peel that caulking off. Remember we talked about that if we were leaving the tile? We're
right.
gonna peel all that caulking out, clean it with a wire brush, and then put a good butyl caulking down. The original documents that TJ had, and you can correct me on this, is in the club room. We really didn't have all windows that I could see, like in the exercise room. The storefront door, and because Ryan, we talked about this. That's a kind of not going to work well with electronic hardware the way it's made right now. We're going to need to change that storefront to a single door, and then put a side light or offset it or do something to fill that opening up. We only want one door for the electronic hardware, not fastening into a door with a pin.
Okay.
Brian, did you talk with Will Forte? Not Forte, Foresight Company about that front door? And you're muted. You're muted, Ryan.
Yeah, sorry about that. You would think I would know that by now. No, we didn't cover that with Will. We were talking about a number of other different things on that, but we told him that we would have additional meetings with them in regards to that. And that might be something that is, they try to make it, I don't know. I'll have to get an answer to that question.
Okay.
So when I was working with Altamont Glass, which was doing things, they did know to change that storefront around.
Okay,
And we're putting windows in the office. We were putting windows in the exercise room, coming around the corner, all through the back and all across the ocean side.
Mhm.
It's a lot of glass.
Mhm.
It's a lot more than I think that we were originally trying to pull from on the original bid, especially
Yeah.
redoing that storefront in the front.
Yeah, in the bid, I had a new storefront, maybe not to what you guys have now discussed and how you want to organize that and set that up, but I did have the sliding glass door and the windows inside that club room part of the original bid.
and the
I
club
think-
room, including the whole south wall, and then we had the
Correct.
one little window on the west wall.
Correct.
Okay. So I have, Ryan, did I send you that one? That bid?
No, I got the other one from Altamont that was the storefront doors.
Just the 6.
Yeah, just,
Let me send you that because I have that one too.
okay.
And TJ, we were doing these 6 storefront doors so that we can get this electronic access system installed, hopefully before too much of the summer. And then, but we're holding off on the club room storefront and storefront doors until the full restoration or,
Okay. Okay.
And then we'll just have that access company come back and change that lock, to the electronic on the new storefront door for the office.
Okay.
So the whole club room, all the window sliders and all that has not been addressed. As far as numbers now.
Okay.
No, I think it has on both your sheet,
Oh, yeah.
Chuck, 58,000.
No, I'm talking about for the bid document. The board's not gonna turn that loose. We're gonna keep that with the GC.
Okay, gotcha.
It only makes sense when they get her into those windows and
Yeah.
stuff around the side and stuff. There's
Yeah.
gonna be back to that repair thing. To
Right.
repair anything it takes to pull those windows and slide her out.
Right.
Right.
TJ, several owners have asked about the windows and the window inspection. And, do they have to repair or replace their windows? And I think I understood from early discussions with you is that either you or the general contractor or both of you will be looking at every window in this place. And then you'll basically be able to say, this has to be replaced. Or we have to take this window out to repair the concrete, but you can't put this window back in because it doesn't meet code anymore. So earlier you talked about the lead time to get these new windows even built. So I'm thinking that will be one of the first steps in the project, that you'll be able to identify who really has to replace windows.
Yes, we're going to attempt to. Part of it is based on, like you said, the concrete. Sometimes the concrete will stop right at the threshold of a door, and sometimes it continues to go under. So until you start chipping by that particular door, we're making our best educated guess to say it's likely to come out.
Okay.
And then let them, because I'm working on another project, Sandcastle, so not too far down from where you guys are. And they gave me the option. They said, we have spalling at your door. You either can replace it now, or we can start chipping into the concrete and you can make your determination then. And some of them elected to wait until the concrete was chipped. Some people didn't need doors, some did, and some sat with a piece of plywood along their door for 3 months while they waited for a new door to come in. But they were at least given the option, and everybody was aware of the pros and cons. So they weren't
Okay.
surprised that they were going to be sitting there with a piece of plywood covering their opening for that long.
Okay.
But they were at least given the option to make that decision whether or not they wanted to take that risk.
Good. I think that's the way we'll try to approach it here too, if Chuck is thinking that's the best way.
I think so.
Right. And I think part of that's all going to depend too, if we end up having to take off the flooring tile. If we're not taking off the flooring tile on the balconies, we're not necessarily going to know if we're going to need to go in for concrete damage. I don't remember seeing a lot of that when we did our survey. I mean, I'm trying to remember, it was quite a while ago now.
Right.
But at least we can try to reevaluate it the best that we can.
Okay.
If everybody agrees, TJ, I think, maybe we could have another one of these calls the first of next week. Let you get your hands kind of wrapped around what I provided and what we've talked about, and then go from there. I'll keep sending you documents as I can.
Okay,
And I think, these sub bids, I'm not saying to use these contractors, but I would, just like to make sure they were involved, in the project somehow, especially the coating, the type of coating we're using. I had given their proposal to Flores Hager, and they were thinking about using somebody else. But at least give these guys a chance, in the
yeah, like the
document.
companies like Flores Hager, they do their own coatings in-house, so they're not subcontracting out to anybody. That's why they probably didn't necessarily want to subcontract it out, as they do a lot of the original bid, the restoration contractors that we bid with, most of them they do all the concrete work in-house, they do all the painting in-house, they do all the deck coating in-house. Flores Hager does windows and doors in-house. Some of the other ones don't. Some of them do post-tension work in-house. It all depends. A lot of them do a lot of that themselves instead of subbing it out.
And the only thing to that, with the sub that I had, and again, you've heard me say I want it all inclusive. They were doing the demo, they were doing the profiling, they're doing the caulking, and they're doing the coating. So I spent a lot of time with them on the profiling and how it's to work and how it's to flow out those doors and move away and where our problems were. And that's a big cost inside this coating number, is that, getting that done. And so I just want to make sure, I think in your bid documents, you had allowance per,
For topping, I think I had an alternate that if we stripped the tile off and there wasn't some type of slope or any of the balconies, we knew what the price would be to have to re-slope them and provide that positive drainage.
well, we got to. We went out there with levels and stuff, and we got to, especially coming out of those elevator lobbies and getting the water to flow back through, coming off of each doorway and flowing out. There's a lot of
Okay.
material that's going down. And so they went out there several times. I think they missed you a couple of times, Ryan. They looked for you. They would just want to make sure about how all of that had to flow. And I said, there's better be right. There better not be any bird baths, because we're going to hear it.
Mhm.
So they agreed and said, okay, we got it. So their bid is inclusive, has all of that. And that's the kind of way I wanted. I wanted material gone. I wanted the caulking. I wanted everything cleaned back up, ready, done. Walk away. So-
TJ, I think too, in that original set that you did, it was a different product than what Chuck located or identified. And I think Flores Hager said, they weren't familiar with that project and product, and didn't really question the warranty, but just kind of wanted to investigate it a little bit more if we were going to go with Flores Hager.
Okay.
The company has done a lot of the coatings all up and down the coastline, a lot of patterns to make it look nice. They could do anything they wanted to do. I know that we haven't really addressed that, but I told them it was not just going to be a poured blue walkway. It was going to look nice. It's going to look patterned. It's going to have a design to it. They included that, into their numbers. So anyway, I'll send you that proposal. You'll have that at least. It's talking about what they're doing. You can research it yourself. And main thing I want to send you these proposals is talking about what they're to make sure we pick it up. Anything into the bid documents that they have seen and located.
Okay.
In the estimate, of course, the HOA contingency is not the GCs. That's not theirs. That's going to be strictly, that number is going to be pulled off to a side. When we get all the bid documents, we're going to have 500,000, 400,000. It's going to be ours. I was just doing it per line item, because some things are going to be more of a contingency than others. If I'm just hanging a door handle, it doesn't need a lot of contingency. But if I'm doing the concrete, it increased. It went higher. At the end of the day, they're going to total up, and we'll decide what that goes in. And then I try to put the mobilization 50, quite a bit, that I felt for underneath each line item for mobilizations and contingencies. And now strictly, this is budget. The numbers I have that I'm sending you is strictly raw cost, just like a GC would get it. So you're not going to see all these mobilizations and stuff. It's going to be like in the concrete, $415,000. That's the bid. But I
Okay.
put that on there because I knew we were going to get a GC to bid the project, and he wants to make $1
Mhm.
or 50
Right.
cents.
Hopefully 50 cents.
We make 50 cents nowadays, but but that's just a guideline for you, of the scopes that, as all the building committee has done over the last year, discussing, how we're going to break this down.
Okay. Is there a certain way that you're gonna phase the project per se, or are you gonna try to attack each building as a whole, let the contractor start on whatever side you want him to start on, and do each building as a whole?
Doris and I have had a lot of conversations about that. Before there was a lot of phasing. These residents, as we've gone through this project, if we start taking this out too far, they're going to hang us. They're not reasonable, and it's just going to wear everybody down, including you. If your name's tagged to this, they will wear you out. So everything that I've looked at and ran it past our operations, this should be a 12-month job. If you use the 2 towers, just like we're building, if we're doing concrete, we're doing here, we're stair stepping these 2 towers, and we're getting out of there. The same thing would be with this. You start with the painting and stuff, and you come down and it's raining, you go into the stairwells, but you keep moving, with the subs. You don't try to say, we're only going to do this. It's going to be back and forth. Now, it's a lot of coordination, but we're going to get out of there quicker and knock those floors off and come down. That's the whole goal, is get the concrete, get those scaffolds, get everything as much as you can out of there as fast as you can. But people are going to be very irritated having all of these people in front of their door.
Right.
They just are. And I don't want Doris drinking any more wine than she's drinking. So, and Ryan, if you are into wine, I'll start buying you bottle. It's just gonna, we just need to, now Doris, you could tell me different, but we got to get out of there.
No,
We got
no.
the most economical, fastest way. I am open to a contractor if we negotiate it. I'm sure we're going to negotiate with somebody, because there's going to be, pick it. How can we get through this the quickest? How can subs utilize your swing cages? All that stuff coming down stage cages. But how can everybody utilize it and come down the building?
All right.
Get out of there. We don't want to be out there during hurricane season with all the materials around the job. There's a lot of coordination. We're supposed to already started this project last year. Not happening, but there's still, we could start it. I don't see why there's some things we can get going. The flooring, but all those discussions can be happening, but we need to get out of there. The flooring up front on those walkways, I'm going to Italy that time and have a nice vacation, and I'll come back and the flooring will be all done on the walkways. Because that's not a fast process, and you know that. It's
No,
going to be dust and grinding. They were already complaining about the doors, right, Ryan?
Yes, they were.
All the grinding and the doors, and there's debris, and there's rust spots on my carpet, and
there's going to be more of it.
Yeah, they don't know half of it.
No.
So anyway, that, as far as I'm concerned, it just, that's a negotiating with the GC for the fastest and quickest way that makes sense. We'll have a schedule laid out that we can have the owners to know. We did pretty good, I think, with the doors.
Yeah.
We told each floor they're going to be on this floor, and they're going to be through Monday through Friday, and then they're going to the next floor, But they did it and got out of there. So, and I believe that's the way we should do this. Get it, get out of there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And TJ, on the grassy knoll that we're going to rename the plaza. But anyway, the grassy knoll, I'm kind of envisioning how you had sort of laid out the work on that before too, that like that would be the sort of the end or the last thing in the project that would be tackled. But that I might be wrong now. If we're going to need concrete work, of course, you're going to try to look at that in the garage and such at the same time as the building concrete.
And
Correct. Yeah, that's up to you guys. Like if you said you want to attack as much as you can to get done as quick as you can, yeah, you'd have all the concrete guys there attacking all the concrete around the whole property at once.
well, again, we're gonna have a base bid. We're gonna have something that's already in base bid. The alternate is if we need to go to something else. But the base bid is gonna have a repair. The building committee, along with the ownership, we had to look at if it's broke and it's falling off, we gotta fix it. If we don't know, we need to investigate. The planners, the argument was, well, maybe not all of them need repaired. Why are you including a cost to repair all planners? Fine, we'll include some of them because we did a little investigating. Some were bad, some not so bad. Fine. Grassy knoll's the same thing. We'll start that process. If we find something, then we need to go to the next step. So I envision getting with the contractor, whoever it is, and we'll start investigating. We'll do that first part, which is digging 4 feet around the perimeter, repairing the waterproofing membrane and stuff like that, and the drains and some of the things that you'll see in that. If we find something that is different, same thing as the tile on the balconies, bets are off. We're taking that dirt out of there. A quick scenario to that, because I know we don't make this too long. The grassy knoll, I did what, 5 estimates? I think I did 5, 3, 4, or 5. And if you take that dirt, everybody that I talked to about in the waterproofing, you can't leave the dirt in there. If it rains, and because they're going to pressure wash it, they got to have a nice clean slab.
Right.
So if you can leave any of that dirt and you get mud washing along that bottom, you're doomed. So how can you get the waterproofing membrane on and try to keep half the dirt? Because first thing was, yeah, we'll just take the dirt and we'll stick it on top of the other. It won't never work. So the dirt, even because it's elevated, you got to get the dirt over down to the parking garage. I mean, down to the parking lot, put it in dump trucks, haul it off. And now if you want to put the dirt back, you got to bring it back in. You got to have a piece of equipment up on the top deck. You got to have a piece of equipment down on the lower part, taking it out of the dump truck and trying to put it over. Cost prohibitive. It's just crazy. No.
It is.
So the option that we have proposed, which again, they're fighting it, ownership, is that we'll put the waterproofing down. And what the waterproofing material was going to be is a pond liner. You know what I'm talking about?
Like a TPO or PVC.
Yeah, we
membrane.
do it all the time in retention ponds. We make this big pond liner. It's like a big swimming pool. It's one big piece. It comes in, they roll it out, and goes up the sides, and you have this 90 mil pond liner. In that pond liner, from that point, we're going to put a sand base, and then we would put pavers. So there were 2 parts of the pavers, one putting them on stands and one putting them on pavers. If we just did the pavers on sand, we just put a bunch of, some sand in there. Again, I don't want to pump anything up there. It's just too costly. I'd rather see the paver stands on the pond liner, put the drains down underneath that area, which is going to catch all the drain, tap it in the garage underneath, catch all of that, and then be done with it. There is a problem. You pick up the pavers off the stands and you can find if there is some kind of issue going on and thing. But the stands, I can get 14 inches high, easy. I think we said there's like 12 inches out there of dirt, somewhere in that range. So we're well within what we can do with stands. The committee decided we want to do it twice, and we're pulling that up we want to do a waterproofing membrane and then put the pond liner. I have bids on the pond liner from waterproofing contractors where we actually did it at Rollins College here. To put that down, do the stands, do the pavers, and the pavers can be in, you know, designs. It don't look at it just a big brick floor, and then set some pots or doing something. Put some trees and some big plant, you know, things. Put some irrigation. We could do a lot of different things to make it pleasing as a courtyard. It doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
That was the least expensive because we can take all the materials and put them up there on the top. Putting dirt back and everybody wants to see their green grass, not an easy thing to do.
Oh, they're green weeds?
Yeah, they're green weeds. But that's what the option, the alternate is doing that system, is doing a waterproofing membrane. When we pull it up, make sure, of course, the slab is not included if there's any issues there. When we went into the garage, most of the water coming into the garage that we could see is coming at the expansion joints at the two buildings down that road. Water's going to find its best level to go to, and it's going to come in, and then at that point, it's an expansion joint. Now, I'm sure when you start pulling that dirt out, it's going to be pretty wet because of the drain system is inadequate that's underneath it. So, but I don't know what the waterproofing. If the waterproofing, there's also the decision was if it was good, just leave it. I say no. Whether the committee said no, we're going to pull all that waterproofing out. We're going to put a spray coating membrane waterproofing, and then put that pond liner, then the sand and the, you know, paper stands and so on. So just giving you a quick highlight. But the first base bid is to cut 2 feet around the perimeter. We got to fix that waterproofing that's along those buildings. That sucks. You know, it's not good. And then also redo the drainage system. We can't have it pouring out the wall at the end of the parking lot,
yeah.
You know, which is what it's doing. And I think it really only the drains are catching is the irrigation head that's beside them because they're too high.
Yeah.
But that would be fixed, you know, underneath the base. But that gets it going. Again, stepping stones, we're going to take that out and then see what's there. If we start seeing any of that waterproofing at the lap joints, they laminate it, that's off. We take it out. We get it done. In that agreement, Doris? You know, we could argue this point till we're blue in the face, and it was just going to be a battle. So we'll do it this way. It's not going to hurt anything because there is a good start and stop. You know, a point we got to do the waterproofing around the perimeter anyway, so that's in base bid regardless what we do. The expansion joint and the rails. The only thing is we're digging out a little bit of the dirt that we're going to dig out anyway.
Yeah.
If we take it all out. So
Right.
you know, I think that phase will work, and that'll suffice all the arguments. And then we can take pictures and send it to the ownership and say, "Told you."
No more Band-Aids.
Yeah.
No more, no more Band-Aids.
Okay.
And that's what I asked TJ is along the way, as much proof of things, photos, what have you, the better off we'll be to explain any issues.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, let me dive into this and start wading through what you've done and make sure I can understand it. And then like Chuck said, we can reconvene and I can ask any questions that I have, and then we can figure out how we want to move forward.
So you want to set an attentive date, Tuesday, Wednesday? Wednesday's kind of a bad day for me, but either Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, anytime. Just let me know, and either Ryan or I guess Ryan, you need to set these up.
Yeah, I can set it up.
Yeah, let me look at it at the beginning of the week, just because I need to see where I'm going to be on my inspections that week to see when I'm going to have office time to be able to start reading through this. So let me see when I'm going to be able to start getting through it, and then I'll have Christina email you to be able to try to coordinate time and date.
Okay. Is it okay to send all the documents just straight to you?
That's fine.
Of course, Doris and Ryan, I'll keep them in the thing, but probably this weekend, I'll start firing them to you.
Okay, that's fine. And then I'll start trying to go through everything next week.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank
Very
you.
good.
Anything else that we need to talk about before I go through it all?
No,
Not
I think we
not
jumped
an-
enough on you right now.
Yeah, unless you have any real specific questions that come to mind right off.
Not yet. Not until I
Okay.
start going through it, and that'll probably be the next conversation, is I'll have a
Good.
list of questions to make sure I'm fully understand everything
Right.
that you've done so far and making sure that we're on the same track to be able to move forward.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good.
All
Thank
right.
you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great
Have a good
weekend,
weekend.
everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, Doris, I'm gonna
Hi.